Hello and welcome again to Not Fake News. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and smash that like button. And if you want to help out the channel, support, go to patreon.com/notfakenews. Without people like you, we would not be able to keep going. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. We have a bunch of breaking stories to get you right now, so let's do this. First, CNN Charlottesville Panel Just Backfired, of course. I'm going to read a couple of the titles and then go into it, but we have a lot more. Look what Sheriff Joe will do if President Trump does not pardon him. Breaking tragedy just announced. The Ninth Circuit is at it again. And much, much more. Stay tuned for the entire thing. We have another 6 stories after that, but I don't want to keep you waiting. Let's get to the CNN Charlottesville Panel Just Backfired. CNN had a number of Trump supporters on a program after the Charlottesville rally in hopes of getting them to denounce or criticize President Trump's statements, but the panel flipped the switch on the host. DailyCaller.com reported CNN featured a panel of 6 Trump supporters, 3 men, 3 women, Wednesday morning, and despite host Alisyn Camerota's surprise, they all defended the president and expressed their distrust of the media. Oh my goodness. This pick is... I did not put that together. This is just luck that I picked that one. Alright, well, it works. Boom! It backfires on them. Nice. A panel of 6 Trump supporters, I said that, Wednesday morning, and a host, and it, blah, 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 right? Next. Camerota asked how many panelists were troubled by President Trump's response to Charlottesville, and not a single panelist raised their hand. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, he, quote, one said, he addressed the problem. Let's face reality. There are problems on both sides, panelist Bob Vieira said. I think it's ridiculous to have me choose between Hitler and Stalin, which is what I consider what both groups are. He added, if you're willing to set fires and burn places to the ground, that doesn't seem like a very peaceful group to me. One panelist, Daphne Goggins, said she is going to reserve judgment until the matter is fully investigated. Goggins said she's also convinced that not everyone at the rally was a neo-Nazi based on videos she saw on Facebook. When she tried to share those videos, she claims she was censored by Facebook. After Camerota played a clip of angry white supremacists protesting, chanting racial slurs against Jewish people, Goggin defended their right to free speech. Those crazy, I don't know what else to call them, I probably can't say it on TV, but they still have a right to say those crazy things, she said. Panelist Robert McCarthy blamed media bias and said the media is not covering it. They're only focused on making neo-Nazis and white supremacists out to be Trump supporters. Trump supporter Amanda Delecata said it was unfair to insinuate that Trump voters are supporting neo-Nazis and said the coverage was negative and uncalled for. No one here, quote, supporting the neo-Nazis or white supremacists. And that narrative is really negative. But what are we talking about is President Trump's response. But what we are talking about is President Trump's response, and he stood in front of America and he condemned the violence that occurred that day, she said. Now, panelist Jimmy Dozier pointed out that only a few hundred people were involved in the Charlottesville incident, but over 60 million people voted for Trump. You're talking about 300 or 400 people in Charlottesville. There's 60 million people that voted for President Trump, he said. Why don't we say that? Or why don't we get a say? Right, of course. Well, you do get a say. The only thing is, they want to pretend like you're all 60 million of you are neo-Nazis. Those people aren't nothing. Democrats have idiots. Republicans have idiots. But we're talking about us. The 60 million, that's for Trump. We don't do stuff like that. Ever. A female Trump supporter named L.A. Key suggested the violence may be triggered on purpose, and there may be an ulterior motives behind this division, and I think so too. I said that right away. She too said her information came from Facebook, prompting Camerota to ask the panel trusted Facebook more than traditional news media outlets. Each panelist agreed that their trust in the mainstream media was slipping, and they trusted alternative internet sources more than cable news. Man, boy, that backfired on them. Something fierce. Every person ripped them up with something really good to say, right? All right. Next, look what Sheriff Joe will do if President Trump doesn't pardon him. Sheriff Joe Aspario shows true loyalty to President Trump, stating he will stand by the president's pardon or no pardon. Joe Aspario, a former sheriff from Arizona who was convicted of defying a court's immigration order, said Wednesday that he's with President Trump, pardon or no pardon. Well, what else is he going to say, folks? We'll see after he gets pardoned, see what he says. That two-bit, low down. You know the story about him, right? Yeah. Next. Breaking. Tragedy just announced. What's this? The U.S. Fort Carson, the Mountain Post. What is going on? Army soldier killed at Fort Carson. That's bad news. Sorry, there's no more information on that. U.S. Army Fort. How? Really? Was it an explosion maybe? I don't know. Somebody's trying to be funny. Anyway, let's get out of that one. Next, the Ninth Circuit is at it again. The same court that ruled against President Trump's travel ban has now given school districts the power to discipline coaches who lead private prayer after games. Why are they focusing on all of these weird types of things that break apart? It's so obvious they're trying to destroy our culture, isn't it? This is from The Blaze. Oh, The Blaze. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals just released an opinion concerning the controversial case of Washington State high school football coach Joe Kennedy. The opinion rules in favor of the Birmingham School District. The BSD had disciplined Kennedy for his practice of kneeling at the 50-yard line immediately after football games and offering a brief, audible prayer. The evolution of those post-game prayers, as the court's decision notes, Kennedy initially said his prayers alone at the 50-yard line after each game. But several games into his first season as coach, 2008, we're still talking about this. How many years later? Several players approached Kennedy on their own and asked if they could pray with him. Kennedy responded, "It's a free country," which is slightly rude. You can do what you want. Over time, the group grew to include the majority of the team. Sometimes the BHS players even invited the opposing team to join. Eventually, Kennedy's religious... Isn't that nice? Did you hear that? Sometimes they would even say, listen, because after they win, they would pray, right? Or is after? I missed it. Was it after every game or after they win? I would think it's after every game, right? Anyway, I don't know. Let's just go on. Eventually, Kennedy's religious practice evolved into something more than his original prayer. He began giving short motivational speeches in midfield after the games. Students, coaches, and other attendees from both teams were invited to participate. During the speeches, the participants kneeled around Kennedy, who raised the helmet for each team and delivered a message containing religious content. After 7 years, controversy erupts. Trump becomes president, and now they want to make a big deal of it. They want to make sure you know that they hate God. I mean, what else can I say? They hate God, right? They're making a big deal that he's praying and it shouldn't be in the schools. You know what? I do get that part though, where it shouldn't be in the schools. Why? Because I don't want people praying down and praying to Allah in schools either, right? We don't want that, and so I can see how they kind of don't, want that. I can see how you should keep it out of school. But this was a little bit different. This was at a baseball game, a football game, sorry. And I don't know. When it's after a game and you want to pray. This is a Christian country, after all. It started that way, and majority Christian. And I don't know. Things are changing, though. That's the whole thing. Things really are changing. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Rant. So it's after 7 years, it erupts. At some point, an opposing coach notified Bremerton School District that Kennedy was leading prayers on the field after the games, and also he was leading pre-game prayers in the locker room. The school district informed Kennedy that he would not be allowed to lead school prayers in the locker room because that would make the prayers too compulsory on the players. Kennedy agreed to the demand. They also informed Kennedy that while he could continue to give inspirational talks after football games, they would henceforth be required to be secular in nature. Don't talk about God. BSD Superintendent Aaron Laval further counseled Kennedy that students' religious activity must be entirely and genuinely student-initiated and may not be suggested, encouraged, or discouraged, or supervised by any district staff. But it's okay for them to talk about how bad Trump is, though. They really need to take politics straight out of their mouths. I'm talking completely. That's one thing we have to worry about. Not prayers in school necessarily as much as trying to turn them into Democrats. Laval further counseled that if students engage in religious activities, school staff may not take any action likely to be perceived by a reasonable observer who is aware of the history and context of such activity at BHS as endorsed of the activity. All right. Once the final whistle blew, Kennedy shook hands with the opposing team and waited until most of the BHS players were singing the fight song to the audience in the stands. Then he knelt on the 50-yard line, bowed his head, closed his eyes, prayed a brief silent prayer. According to Kennedy, while he was kneeling with his eyes closed, coaches and players from opposing teams as well as members of the general public and media spontaneously joined him on the field and knelt beside him. In the days after the game, pictures were published in various media depicting Kennedy praying while surrounded by players and members of the public. Can't stop the prayer. It's the moral of the story. Next. Feral Antifa punches another Antifa. Whoopsie. Because he looks like a Nazi by accident. Dog, I'm like a 50-pound meth head like you, man. What the hell? Man, my mom just got me a haircut. Dang, man. This man was punched in the face by someone who allegedly mistook him for a neo-Nazi. Aha. Sucker. Sucker punch.
You do not hit somebody that you assume is a neo-Nazi. You cannot do that. He's on our side. Do not do that.
Just sit down for a minute.
Here we are. We'll get you a medic. Water?
My ear thing is too small.
Hold the tissue on there.
What are you here to do?
My shaft. What is that called? A shaft? A gauge?
I'm not exactly sure right now.
Somebody should tattoo a freaking Make America Great hat on his forehead. He's got a bald head. That'd be so awesome. Oh, okay. Alright. Next. Breaking. President Trump just turned up the heat on the VA.
But to fulfill our patriotic duties, we must take care of our great veterans. One year ago at this gathering, and I remember so many of you so well, I promised you that I would make it my priority to fix the broken VA and deliver our veterans the care they so richly deserve. And you see what's been happening. Now you have a true reformer in Secretary David Shulkin. He has done an incredible job. He's working night and day to implement the 10-point reform plan that I discussed with you last year. Already we have made incredible progress. We are publishing wait times online for every VA facility, so you know what the wait is.
Wow.
We've delivered same-day emergency mental health services at every VA medical center.
Yeah, holy smokes.
We've opened the promised White House VA hotline.
Nice.
That's a big deal.
That is.
That's a big deal.
That's a big damn deal.
We've dramatically increased the number of veterans approved to see the doctor of their choice and signal legislation to continue that very important choice program that I spoke to you about last year. And I want to thank the American Legion for your help in getting this done. You have been so helpful. Thank you very much.
Nice. Nice. That's a biggie. That really is. Let's see anything down here. We've opened the promise, the White House hotline. Yep. Gonna get that number. Any number? Hotline number, anyone? You can find it. I'm sure it's really easy. Okay, next. Violent Antifa dude gets what he deserves after messing with police tear gas canister.
Backing up, but still facing that line of officers in defiance.
You just saw one of the protesters go up there and actually kick a can of that.
That are kicking.
Oh, what?
The guy just got shot with a rubber bullet. The guy you're looking at right now just got hit with a rubber bullet.
Look at it. Oh.
So, yeah, the officers are not.
These
not
people,
messing around
these
at all. If
these
there's
punk.
anybody out here on the street.
Oh my God, they think they're army people. Did you see the way he ran in and helped his fellow soldier? I want to just trip him on that dude in the red shirt. What a doof. They really think they're tough.
Go home.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And the aim that they have, that should scare the hell out of Antifa right there on the spot. That they were 20 feet away, he shot him with a rubber bullet, and he nailed him. And they did it with accuracy. There were other people around, didn't even touch them.
If there's anybody out here on the streets, go home.
Dun, 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 dun. Next. Any other idiots getting hurt that we want to see? Good night, left nut. What? I'm sorry. Oh, he got hit down there, you think? With the bullet. Did they nail him? Oh, let's watch one more time now. That's funny. If they did that, that's funny. They got like a sniper with bullets, with rubber bullets. Oh, he did. They got him right there. They shot his ball off. He's freaking not having any more idiot kids, that's for sure. Holy shit, look at him. He's freaking in agony. God damn it. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm so happy I went down and figured that out. Doesn't that make it even 1,000 times better that they got him there? Share that one. Share this, folks. We got to get that out. That's what's going to happen if you mess around. You're going to get your ding-ding knocked off. Breaking, new spacesuit revealed. Next. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk took to Instagram Wednesday to share the first photo of his working spacesuit. And we plan on putting all liberals in one and just shooting them into space. That's it. They're just going to get sent to another planet. We're done with them. Yeah, bro. It looks like every other spacesuit I've ever seen on Star Trek. Picture of SpaceX spacesuit more than in days to follow. Worth noting that it actually works. Not a mock-up. Already tested to double vacuum pressure. Was incredibly hard to balance aesthetics and function. Easy to do either separately. Okay. Awesome. Dun, dun, dun. New frontier. Sheriff Joe just broke his silence. That rat Fink son of a... I'm talking about that earlier when I said he's going to turn on Trump after he gets no pardon.
Are you, after all of this, bitter?
The what, Neil?
Are you bitter?
I don't like going negative, you know me, but I'm a little discouraged. And it's not for me, it's for everybody. Because what they did to me, they can do to anybody. Believe me. And they can do to the president, which they're trying to do anyway. So it's a bigger picture than this sheriff.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio, thank you very much.
Next. Look what Charlottesville is doing to their Confederate statues, and it's something new, trust me. For a second there, I saw George St. Pierre. Just a second. And then I realized, nah. Charlottesville worker being covering Confederate statue as city mourns death at white supremacy rally. Oh, they couldn't break that one down? That's the one that started it off. This is a picture of General Rob Lee. He's fought to... I think he fought... did he fight I think he fought to keep slavery around. He was a Confederate soldier. So yeah, he wasn't fighting against slavery. He was fighting to keep it. But here's an interesting story that you didn't hear. I'm trying to remember the company. Fired a guy named Rob Lee, a Chinese man, and I just can't remember the name of the company, but one of our big companies that you know, a very well-known company, fired this Chinese guy today or yesterday because his name was Rob Lee and didn't want him to cause any controversy. Now, that should scare everybody to death. That should scare you to death that they're going to do something like that. Anyway, next. They're covering the statues. That's the story. Whoopity-doo. Just like Pelosi's saying right now. Oh, bad news for anti-Confederate statue, Nancy Pelosi. The title is very confusing. I still don't know what it is. Let's see. After making the demand for all Confederate linked statues to be removed from the Capitol building, Nancy Pelosi has yet to denounce her father's statue for Rob Lee and Stonewall Jackson. Yesterday on Fox and Friends, first I said, the truth is, the Democrats have a pretty poor history on civil rights, including Nancy Pelosi's own father, who was the mayor of Baltimore, and was one of the people who dedicated statues to Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. And in his speech said that they defended sacred institutions. What are those sacred institutions, you might ask? One of them is slavery. Pelosi's dad was in favor of slavery. I've been asked to share the details of Minority Leader Pelosi's father and his involvement with these Confederate statues. Pelosi's father, Baltimore Mayor Thomas D. Alessandro Jr., spoke as the mayor at the dedication of the monument to the Confederate Generals Robert E. Lee and Thomas Stonewall Jackson all the way back in 1948. That's right. For those just waking up, here's what happened in Baltimore, the city's dead of night removal of all of its Confederate monuments. These statues should go into a museum. They don't get torn down. They go into a museum so we can always remember that slavery was wrong. And we should know the story. At the dedication, he said, today, with our nation beset by subversive groups and propaganda which seeks to destroy our national unity, we can look for an inspiration to the lives of Lee and Jackson to remind us to be resolute and determined in preserving our sacred institutions. According to the Baltimore Sun, the Lee Jackson statue was erected in 1948 after a $100,000 donation from Baltimorean J. Henry Ferguson. Ferguson's father was a friend of the Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Many believe that the statue erected during the time were to push back on growing civil rights movements. Baltimore current mayor Catherine Pugh decided to remove this monument and others on Tuesday. Pelosi called for the removal of all Confederate linked statues in the Capitol building, but has yet to denounce her father's support of Lee and Jackson, nor has she condemned the racist roots of the Democratic Party. She also did not remove the statues when she was the Speaker of the House. All those years never mattered. Why does it matter now? Well, because they want to, with Trump. They're doing it because Trump's around. And I realized the other day that all of these statues are linked to Democrats. And if you think about it, maybe they're trying to erase the fact that the Democrats are tied to slavery. They're trying to erase all of that. And that's why they want those down. That's why they got those groups to pretend like they wanted them down. Oh, we need them down. Really, it's Democrats behind it. And this is all to appease immigrants. This is all to appease minorities and to get them to vote in 2018 because they feel they have to scare you to death or else you're not going to vote, which is probably true. Most people don't go out and vote, but now you're going to because you got to get rid of that orange Hitler, don't you? Oh my God. Right? Oh. By the way, folks, you're listening to Not Fake News, in case you haven't noticed so far. It's starting. They're trying to remove President Trump from Twitter. Former undercover CIA agent Valerie Plame, or what would you say her name is? Plame? Have you ever seen that? Valerie Plame Wilson has launched a GoFundMe in an attempt to raise enough money to buy Twitter, therefore enabling her to remove President Trump from the social media platform. The crowdfunding has raised so far $6,000 of the $6 billion goal. Wow. I was thinking about starting a GoFundMe page so I can help fund the channel because YouTube took away 95% of our money. And I felt bad. I'm like, why do people have to pay? And I don't want to ask for money. Look at this piece of dirt this woman is. She wants to buy Twitter. And she got $6,000. Do you realize she's never going to reach that goal? And she's going to keep all of the money? Oh my God. If I was a schemer, it'd be so easy to make money these days. Look at these pieces of dirt. Former undercover CIA Valerie Plame Wilson is looking to crowdfund enough money to buy Twitter. Wow. Is it for sale? Is it for sale for $6 billion? That's it. I'm going to go buy it right now. $6 billion? All right. Trump should buy that. Trump should buy Twitter. It's crazy. Wilson wrote on the fundraiser page GoFundMe that she hopes to raise enough money to buy a controlling interest in the Twitter stock. If she doesn't have enough to purchase a majority of shares, she said that she will explore options to buy a significant stake. She means at Outback, and championed the proposal at Twitter's annual shareholder meeting. She means she's going to buy a really significant porterhouse steak and eat like steaks for the rest of her life with the money you give her. If Plan were to hit her $1 billion goal, she'd still fall far short of gaining a controlling interest in the company. As of Wednesday, a majority stake would cost roughly $6 billion, but a $1 billion stake would make her Twitter's largest shareholder and give her a very strong position to exert influence on the company. But after she gives them her $1 billion, they're going to look at her and they're going to tell her to go take a frickin' hike. Twitter didn't immediately respond with the request for a comment on Wednesday. Wilson's identity as a CIA operative was leaked by an official in the former President George Bush's administration in 2003 in an effort to discredit her husband, Joe Wilson, a former diplomat who criticized Bush's decision to invade Iraq. Oh, sounds like he might have been right. She left the agency in 2005. But she's got some ideas now, doesn't she? Wow. That is it for today's show, folks. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's not fake news. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and smash that like button. By the way, do you know how to subscribe the new way now? Because they changed it. You got to click subscribe. Then you got to hit that little bell that's next to it. And a little window pops open. You click the check mark, and then you click save. So it's subscribe, bell, check mark, save. Then you're part of the resistance. Then you are part of Not Fake News. Then you will not be lied to anymore. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed that one, folks, we have another one right there where the arrow is pointing. So click on it. I'll see you next time. Thanks again. Not Fake News, where we get it right. Hello and welcome again to Not Fake News. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and smash that like button. And if you want to help out the channel, support, go to patreon.com/notfakenews. Without people like you, we would not be able to keep going. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. We have a bunch of breaking stories to get to right now, so let's do this. First, CNN Charlottesville Panel Just Backfired, of course. I'm going to read a couple of the titles and then go into it, but we have a lot more. Look what Sheriff Joe will do if President Trump does not pardon him. Breaking tragedy just announced. The Ninth Circuit is at it again. And much, much more. Stay tuned for the entire thing. We have another 6 stories after that, but I don't want to keep you waiting. Let's get to the CNN Charlottesville Panel Just Backfired. CNN had a number of Trump supporters on a program after the Charlottesville rally in hopes of getting them to denounce or criticize President Trump's statements, but the panel flipped the switch on the host. DailyCaller.com reported CNN featured a panel of 6 Trump supporters, 3 men, 3 women, Wednesday morning, and despite host Alisyn Camerota's surprise, they all defended the president and expressed their distrust of the media. Oh my goodness. This pick is... I did not put that together. This is just luck that I picked that one. Alright, well, it works. Boom! It backfires on them. Nice. A panel of 6 Trump supporters, I said that, Wednesday morning, and host, and it, blah, 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 right? Next. Camerota asked how many panelists were troubled by President Trump's response to Charlottesville, and not a single panelist raised their hand. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, he, quote, one said, I mean, he addressed the problem. Let's face reality. There are problems on both sides, panelist Bob Vieira said. I think it's ridiculous to have me choose between Hitler and Stalin, which is what I consider what both groups are. He added, if you're willing to set fires and burn places to the ground, that doesn't seem like a very peaceful group to me. One panelist, Daphne Goggins, said she is going to reserve judgment until the matter is fully investigated. Goggins said she's also convinced that not everyone at the rally was a neo-Nazi based on videos she saw on Facebook. When she tried to share those videos, she claims she was censored by Facebook. After Camerota played a clip of angry white supremacists protesting, chanting racial slurs against Jewish people, Goggin defended their right to free speech. Those crazy, I don't know what else to call them, I probably can't say it on TV, but they still have a right to say those crazy things, she said. Panelist Robert McCarthy blamed media bias and said the media is not covering it. They're only focused on making neo-Nazis and white supremacists out to be Trump supporters. Trump supporter Amanda Delecata said it was unfair to insinuate that Trump voters are supporting neo-Nazis and said the coverage was negative and uncalled for. No one here, quote, supporting the neo-Nazis or white supremacists. And that narrative is really negative. But what are we talking about is President Trump's response. But what we are talking about is President Trump's response, and he stood in front of America and he condemned the violence that occurred that day, she said. Now, panelist Jimmy Dozier pointed out that only a few hundred people were involved in the Charlottesville incident, but over 60 million people voted for Trump. You're talking about 300 or 400 people in Charlottesville. There's 60